Good morning. Today our topic is neonatal sepsis. Neonatal sepsis. First, coming to infections in neonates. Neonates are more susceptible for infections because their immunity is like less mature, and then physical barrier like skin is also less mature, so they're very high likely they can catch infections. Mostly, most of the infections will be bacterial, viral, or protozoal. Bacterial mediated infections almost account to one-third of the causes of neonatal deaths. These infections can be superficial or systemic infections. Superficial are which are like at the level of skin or like at the level of mucosa. Like superficial infections are omphalitis, oral thrush, and conjunctivitis. These are the most common superficial infections in neonates. Systemic infections happen when the pathogen gains access to bloodstream. When these pathogens generally through IV lines, or like when the baby with the breach of the mucosa, or in neonates will do umbilical catheterization or something. By any means they can gain access to bloodstream, and when the pathogen gains access to bloodstream, it will cause systemic changes like systemic infection. Neonatal sepsis is generalized. Neonatal sepsis can be generalized. They can be like whole body can be involved, or like it can be localized to organ like lungs. In lungs we call it pneumonia. In meninges we call it meningitis. If it involves bone and joints, for osteomyelitis or arthritis. Like if it is bone, osteomyelitis. If it is joints, arthritis. And systemic bacterial infections. Systemic infections, in that systemic bacterial infections specifically known as neonatal sepsis. Neonatal sepsis term by term we use for systemic bacterial infections. Etiology. Etiology, there are a lot of organisms, but most commonly there will be group B streptococci, E. coli, Staph aureus, cons, coagulation negative staphylococci, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas. These organisms also depends. Like in early onset sepsis, those three group B streptococci, E. coli, Staphylococcus are more common. In late onset sepsis, coagulation negative staphylococci, Klebsiella, and pneumonia. These are most common. And what is early sepsis versus late sepsis? First, early onset sepsis. Early onset sepsis is a baby develops infection within 72 hours after birth. We call it as early onset sepsis. This cause of these infections mostly are from maternal genital tract or in the delivery area. These infections are perinatal infections. They can be before birth, right in the uterus itself, baby can have infection through amniotic fluid or something. When amniotis happens, the baby gains infections in the intrauterine life itself, or while passing on during the process of delivery, baby can catch some pathogens from the maternal genital tract or the delivery area. They can catch infections. This occurs, early onset sepsis occurs in presence of few perinatal risk factors. Risk factors are spontaneous onset of preterm labor and prolonged rupture of membranes. And the membranes are ruptured for prolonged time. Infections like, again, same from the maternal genital tract, the pathogens gain access to amniotic fluid, and from there it enters into the baby. And then foul smell, multiple, like when during labor they'll be doing lot of pervaginal examination. If they won't take proper precautions and do multiple pervaginal examination, that itself can induce infection. And maternal fevers and difficulty or prolonged labors. All these are causes of risk factors for early onset sepsis. Most common early onset sepsis can be anything. It can be generalized septicemia or pneumonia, meningitis, anything. But most commonly it will be pneumonia. And late onset sepsis is when the infection occurs after 72 hours of birth. Then we call it late onset sepsis. Why you divide like late, the sepsis common, like most of the features, treatment, everything is same. But why you divide early and late is because that the organisms involved in early and late onset sepsis are different. The symptoms may be same, but the organisms are different. So the treatment, the antibiotics we use for early onset sepsis and late onset sepsis are differs. So that way we have to differentiate early and late onset sepsis. These are by organisms thriving in external environment like home or hospital. After delivery, when the baby is at home or hospital, they can catch these infections. Most commonly, they are transmitted through health care providers like mother or like whoever it is in the home, like I am or whatever. If they don't maintain proper hand hygiene, they can induce infection to the baby. Or cord care. Most of the common, like if you see in rural areas, babies umbilical cord, they cover it with cow dung or something. Through that, they induce infection to the baby. It's all become late onset sepsis. Generally, late onset sepsis is generalized sepsis, septicemia, and pneumonia and meningitis. Most commonly, septicemia and meningitis are the presentations of these babies. Predisposing factors for late onset sepsis are low birth weight, and the baby's birth weight is very low, and lack of breastfeeding. You know, through breastfeeding, antibodies go from mother to baby. They give passive immunity for some duration of time. When the breastfeeding is not there, they won't be getting those antibodies. So the babies lack immunity, and they're at high susceptibility for infections. Poor cord care, the way I told. Cord care, sometimes they apply a lot of things. So like cow dung or mud, something they apply to cords. In few rare cases, they apply it to the cord. So that itself causes infection. Or superficial infection like pyoderma or umbilical sepsis, when they progress, they become systemic infections. When the umbilical initial infection will be very small, like will be less than 1 centimeter, we call superficial infection. If the endurance is more than 1 centimeter, we call systemic infection. Like the systemic infection, within baby needs IV antibiotics. Superficial infection, we give generally topical antibiotic cream. And aspiration. In the newborn babies, there are high chances of milk aspiration and all this. When they're associated congenital abnormalities like cleft lip or something, baby has cleft lip or something, they will have high chance of aspiration. So these children, they end up with pneumonia and all those things. And next is disruption of skin integrity. Like when we do IV lines and all this thing, we are disrupting the skin integrity. So we are giving a path to pathogens to enter. Clinical features. Most of the neonatal sepsis, they'll have a vague and ill-defined symptoms. We can't differentiate this early onset sepsis from these ill-defined these other things. Other like baby, if the baby has other symptoms, it's very difficult. They have very subtle symptoms, neonatal sepsis. It's only because of suspicion. We should have a high suspicion in for sepsis in the neonate. Otherwise, it's very high likely that we will miss. The initial thing we have to suspect when sepsis, we have to suspect sepsis in the baby. First, the symptom will be like the feeding behavior will be altered. Initially, there will be like feed establishment will happen after birth, a few days. When the behavior suddenly changes, then we have to suspect neonatal sepsis, and they become lethargic, unresponsive, not taking feeds. Then cry will be poor, hypothermia. They can have abdominal distension, vomiting, or apneic spells. Apnea in newborns we define as cessation of breathing for more than 20 seconds. That is apnea. Those apneic spells will be more in these septic neonatal sepsis babies. In pneumonia, like if it is a pneumonia, the baby will have rapid breathing, chest retractions, and grunt can be there. When you're suspecting meningitis, like we have to suspect meningitis in all neonatal sepsis, because the blood-brain barrier is immature in these newborns. So whatever infection, neonatal sepsis, once the pathogen gain access into the bloodstream, it can go to brain also. So we should have high suspicion for meningitis in all these babies. They can sometimes, in fulminant neonatal sepsis, they can present with shock, bleeding, bleeding because of DAC. And the scleroma. Scleroma is we tell like the woody feature of the skin, like subcutaneous tissue inflammation, and it becomes skin becomes woody feeling. And the renal failure, they can have like decreased urine output and all things in this baby. These are indicators for fulminant sepsis. Differential diagnosis. Differential diagnosis for sepsis in newborn are hypothermia. Baby will have the same features of lethargy, not taking feeds and everything in these conditions also. So we have to differentiate this from sepsis. They can have hypothermia, hyperthermia, hypoglycemia, hypoxia. Hypoxia can also present as sepsis. Looks like sepsis. We have to differentiate it from sepsis. And the late metabolic acidosis or any metabolic syndrome will present after 3 to 4 days of life. Generally, once feeding established, they start presenting. So metabolic syndromes also we have to differentiate from sepsis. And congestive heart failure, any congenital cardiac abnormalities. Also, initially baby can be normal at birth, but that cardiac failure will develop after few days of birth, especially in first week. Few congenital cardiac abnormalities present. So that presents as congestive heart failure. So we have to differentiate congestive heart failure from sepsis. Even simple nasal block sometimes can mimic a sepsis. Next, investigations. In newborn, the sepsis is like they have very less immunity, and then I told you that blood-brain barrier also very not properly mature. So the high chance of meningitis and all that. So whenever we suspect sepsis in a baby, we have to immediately start treatment. We should not wait for investigations. We can do investigations, but we need not wait for reports to come. But take sample and we have to start treatment immediately for the baby. And blood culture. Blood culture should be taken in all these babies when you suspect neonatal sepsis to know what organism and what sensitivity. Generally, blood culture is taken 0.5 to 1 ml in around 5 to 10 ml of liquid media for blood culture. Then sepsis panel should be done. That is total leukocyte count, absolute neutrophil count. Total leukocyte count will be less than 4 to 5,000 in these babies. And absolute neutrophil count also will be less than 1800. IT ratio is the immature neutrophils to total neutrophil ratio. It will be less than 20%. And CRP is more than 1. Micro-ESR is more than 15 in these babies. Then we have to suspect sepsis. This all comes under sepsis panel. Sepsis panel or sepsis screening we do. If sepsis screening is positive, to be positive, at least 2 of the above parameters should be positive, like total leukocyte count less than 4,000 or absolute neutrophil count less than 1800, IT ratio less than 20, CRP more than 1, micro-ESR more than 15. Any of these parameters, any 2 of these parameters should be positive to call it screening positive, neonatal sepsis screening positive. Then LP should be performed in all suspected cases of neonatal sepsis. NNS is neonatal sepsis. And treatment. This treatment, the main base of treatment is supportive care. First, we have to stabilize these sick babies. These sick, neonates, they would not have taken feeding for some time. So they present with hypoglycemia. They can present with hypoglycemia. They can present with hypothermia. They can present with dehydration. And they can present with hypoxia because of apneic expulsion and other things. And so we have to stabilize the babies first. First thing is we have to maintain the temperature. If the baby is hypothermic, we have to keep the baby under radiant warmer first. We have to maintain the body temperature. And then we have to give oxygen to the babies through hood. If baby's breathing pattern is not good, we have to give bag and mask ventilation. We have to establish airway for these babies if it's required. Like baby is unable to take respiration, maybe we have to ventilate these babies also. Next, after stabilizing the respiratory system, temperature, respiration, then comes to the circulation. Circulation, perfusion, we tell peripheral perfusion. We have to see blood perfusion is good or not. The parameters we check is we have to palpate peripheral pulses. If pulses are weak, then CRT is capillary refilling time. Capillary refilling time we have to check, and skin color. By these 3 things, we can assess perfusion. If perfusion is not good, and urine output also we have to monitor. for these babies. If any of these things, if urine output is low, or peripheral pulses are weak, CRT is prolonged, and skin color changes, then we have to give rapid fluids. Rapid fluid correction should be given. That is around 10 ml per kg of fluids. NS or RL will give in over 5 to 10 minutes. We can repeat 1 to 2 times. If perfusion still remains poor, after giving few bolus salts, after giving 2-3 bolus salts, if still the perfusion is not good, we have to start the baby on inotropes like dopamine and dopamine to maintain the perfusion, circulation, I mean. And then in these babies, they can present with hypoglycemia. Only because of sepsis, they can have hypoglycemia, or because lack of feed intake, they can present with hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemia should be corrected. Initially, we give 10% dextrose or glucose, 10% dextrose, 2 ml per kg as a bolus. And after giving bolus, we have to start the baby on maintenance glucose, around 4 to 6 mg per kg per minute of glucose. Then we have to start the baby on maintenance fluids. Maintenance fluids is like whatever, it depends upon the day of life. Initially, first day we'll give 50 ml per kg, 50 to 60 ml per kg. Second day we give 70 ml per kg. Third day 80 ml per kg baby needs fluids. So that we have to calculate the maintenance fluids, and we have to give to the baby. Continuous slow infusion should be given. Like hourly, we have to divide hourly fluid in requirement, and we have to give. If once the urine flow is established, then we can add potassium to the maintenance fluids. And sometimes we need, if for prolonged time baby is requiring IV fluids, we may need to add other electrolytes also, sodium, chloride, and other things. And nutrition. Nutrition is important in the sick babies, because once the baby need like proper nutrition to come out of the sepsis, to fight sepsis. If baby is able to take, we'll give mother's milk. That's the best thing. Direct breastfeeding, or if baby is unable to feed directly, we can give express mother's milk and then be given to NG tube or something. If baby is too sick, or a ventilated, baby is unventilated, then we have to offer parenteral nutrition, lipids and protein nutrition. We have to start parenteral nutrition. And then specific care. Specific care comes in this, obviously neonatal sepsis is main treatment is antibiotics. Mainstay of treatment for sepsis is antibiotics. Initially, like once the baby comes, we'll start empirically antibiotics. We don't know, because we can only guess the organism, but we don't know what exactly causing sepsis for the baby unless the report, culture report comes. Culture and sensitivity report usually takes some 3 to 5 days. So we can't wait till that time. We'll start these children empirically on antibiotics. Like in different situations, we'll choose different antibiotics. Generally, if baby is coming from community, that is like once discharged and baby went home. From home, baby is coming with sepsis, then we'll tell community acquired infections. These community acquired infections have less resistances. Like these are like they're susceptible for lower antibiotics also. We'll start with ampicillin and gentamicin. If you're suspecting meningitis, we'll use cefotaxime and gentamicin. If it's a hospital-required infection, and you're not suspecting high resistance, is it like normal baby, you didn't give IV access or anything, we're not suspecting so much of resistance, then we start with ampicillin or cloxacillin with amikacin. Again, if you're suspecting meningitis in this pillar, we'll give cefotaxime and amikacin. In case of hospital-acquired, when you're suspecting high probability of strains, resistant strains, then we'll give cefotaxime and amikacin for septicemia and pneumonia. For meningitis, we'll give cefotaxime and amikacin. Next, there are few scenarios. When you're suspecting a neonate to be sepsis, then first scenario is the baby is less than 24 hours. There are perinatal risk factors. Perinatal risk factors I told you, like prolonged rupture of membranes, or early onset of labor, or maternal fever, amniotic fluid, foul smelling amniotic all these can be perinatal risk factors. The perinatal risk factors are there. Baby is less than 72 hours of life, and there are no symptoms. Right now, the baby has no symptoms. Then what do we do? Management is like, if risk factors, extreme risk factors are when you're suspecting chorioamnionitis in the mother, or like prolonged PPROM, prolonged premature rupture of membranes. If that is the situation, we'll start antibiotics. We have to initiate antibiotics immediately. And then if risk factors are minor risk factors, like just spontaneous rupture of membranes or little prolonged labor, all those things we can monitor, and we can start antibiotics immediately after getting signs. If baby develops some signs like lethargy or not taking pills or anything, if you suspect sepsis, immediately you can start antibiotics. And there is no need of sepsis screening in this. You can directly perform blood cultures, like we have to collect samples of blood culture, we have to take, and we have to start antibiotics for these babies. Second scenario is babies less than 72 hours, risk factors are there, perinatal risk factors are there, and sepsis symptom also there. So here we have to start antibiotics immediately. What antibiotics? I told you, like by depending upon this table, we have to see, we have to start antibiotics. And there is no need of sepsis screening in these babies also. Straight away we can start antibiotics after taking blood for culture. And scenario 3 is baby less than 72 hours of life, and there are no risk factors, but sepsis signs are there. If baby is too sick in this condition, we have to start antibiotics immediately. If baby is not too sick, we can perform sepsis screening and give antibiotics if screening is positive. Next, finally, sorry, these are 3 scenarios on my made. Fourth scenario. Fourth scenario is more than 72 hours. More than 72 hours, and perinatal risk factors are, there is no more than 72 hours. We don't consider perinatal risk factors, so that's not a thing. And baby has symptoms. If baby has symptoms here. If baby is too sick, we'll start antibiotics. If it's not too sick, we'll do sepsis screening. Sepsis screening is, I told you, total leukocyte count, absolute neutrophil count, CRP, ESR, and IT ratio. We'll see these things. If it is positive, sepsis screening is positive, we'll start antibiotics in these babies. And administration, mode of administration of antibiotics. Initially, we prefer parental route, that is IV mostly. Initially, once the baby stabilizes and accepts oral feeds after 3-4 days of IV antibiotics, then we can shift to oral antibiotics. At least for 3 to 5 days, we'll give IV antibiotics, then we shift to oral antibiotics when the baby becomes stable. And then monitoring. Monitoring is very important in this sepsis baby. We have to continuously monitor. We have to see the respiration, saturations, blood saturations, and then activities, baby activity, and any seizures or the babies or any seizures or anything. We have to monitor body temperature of these babies because there are high suspect of hypothermia. Generally, if we get infections, we will have fever. That is hyperthermia. We will have temperature will be elevated. But in these newborns, they can have hypothermia also in infections. So we have to look for hypothermia, any hypoglycemia. All these things should be monitored in these babies. Monitoring is very important. And then prognosis. Prognosis, mostly in Indian studies, they will tell like 45 to 58% of these neonatal sepsis babies die. So what outcome depends upon maturity and weight of the neonate. The baby is like very preterm. Very preterm is less than 20 to 32 weeks or 28 weeks. There are high chances of them not surviving this sepsis. Like very difficult. And weight of the neonate, at least more than 150 grams, babies have high chance of surviving this sepsis. And type of etiological agent, what is causing the infection, and antibiotic sensitivity, adequacy of specific and supportive treatment, how much early we started antibiotics, how much specific doses we gave, and how is the supportive therapy, other supportive therapy, like did you correct temperature, body temperature, oxygen levels, hypoglycemia. If you covered all these things, the outcome will be better. And then there's a table to differentiate early onset sepsis and neonatal like late onset sepsis. I just made a table. Whatever we went through all this, the small table. Like mostly it will come as a 5-mark question or something for you. If you know this much, it will be enough. Onset. Early means it will be less than 72 hours. Late onset sepsis is more than 72 hours of life. After 72 hours of life, after baby is born, on third day, more than 3 days. After third day of life, if baby develops any fever, that will be like late onset. Source of early onset sepsis will be generally maternal genital tract. Late is environment. They catch infection from environment. And risk factors. Risk factors is for early onset sepsis, it is prematurity, amniotitis, or maternal infections. For late onset sepsis, it is prematurity. And presentation. Early onset sepsis is fulminant. Fulminant, like it will be rapidly spreading infection. Multi system is involved. and the most commonly presents as pneumonia, they have bad outcome, like mortality will be 5 to 50% variable. In late onset sepsis, the disease progression will be little slow, and most commonly they present with meningitis. It needs 10 to 15, like mortality is 10 to 15%. All these sepsis, when you're suspecting, you have to do LPI tool, like lumbar puncture. And if it is positive, lumbar puncture positive, then we suspect as, we'll tell it to label it as meningitis. And it needs minimum antibiotics for 14 to 21 days of IV antibiotics for the babies when you're suspecting meningitis. So main thing is, these three tables are important. We have to remember the differences: early and late onset sepsis, and then antibiotic choice. Which antibiotic will choose in where, and clinical features. This is important and always important in neonatal sepsis. There's nothing much in neonatal sepsis. Only thing is that you should be able to differentiate between early onset sepsis and late onset sepsis. Thank you. If any doubts, you people can ask me. No doubts, we'll wind up the session. Thank you.